That was the worst sort of control, a sort of brainwashing that Jas had only managed to throw off when Billy's arrest approached. It was as though he had been helpless to rebel against his upbringing, until the world itself put the lie to Billy's promise that the world's laws didn't matter. And then, slowly, so damn slowly, Jas came to realize that his father was a devil, not a god. "He made me what I am," Jas said, "bad and good alike. You can't deny that, Con." "And my parents made me what I am, so what? We get stuff from our parents, but we also get stuff from the world around us, from the people around us, and at the end of the day, we're us." She leaned up on her elbows and loomed over him, her braids dangling. "Sons aren't their fathers. Not the good, not the bad. Sons get second chances. You don't have to be what your dad is." She stared into his eyes for so long that Jas thought he'd somehow hypnotized her with his gaze. "You told me you hated his eyes. Ice blue, like your grandmother's, but they're not yours. You don't have his eyes, and you don't have to have his life." She suddenly stiffened in his arms. "Did you hear that?" "Hear what?" A sound. She was on alert. "Someone's out there." "Raccoon," he said. "They're always scavenging out there." "Are you sure?" "I'll protect you from the big bad rodents," Jas told her. She chuckled and snuggled into him. "You will, won't you?" "Yeah, even from me." "I don't need protection from you," she giggled. "Don't say that." A poke to his ribs. "I'm not afraid of you. I know you." "I don't want to hurt you," he whispered. "You won't." "You don't know that. You can't." "I do." "That makes one of us." Jas closed his eyes tight. He didn't want to say what was in his head, but he couldn't stop himself. He owed it to Connie. He owed her this honesty. "You know I could kill you, right?" he said quietly, his voice measured and calm. "I could do it right now. Right now, and there's nothing you could do to stop me, even though I've told you." She went still against him. "But you won't." He exploded. "How do you know that?" He pushed her away. "How? Tell me! Jesus!" Tears came from nowhere, shocking him as they streamed down his cheeks. He didn't know what the hell these fresh tears were for, and he didn't care. He swiped at them with his palms, pressing them into flesh gone suddenly hot. "Why aren't you running? Why aren't you terrified? How do you know, Connie?" he whispered. "Even I don't know that I won't kill you. How the hell can you know?" All his strength left him, and he collapsed against her. Without hesitation, her arms went around him, drawing him in, his head nestled against her breast as sobs racked his body. "I know because—" "Damn it!" He scrambled away, escaping her grasp. "Damn it, Connie, don't fall for this crap. I'm trying to help you." He paced the hideout, his body vibrating with anger, with fear. Words spilled out of him, stumbling over one another like people running in an earthquake. "This is how we do it. We lure you in, sucker you, rely on your compassion, your empathy. And if you're lucky, you're dead before you realize it. And we... He ran out of words. He stood in the darkness, his breath heaving, staring down at her as she huddled against the wall, under the space blanket, which now appeared alien and too private in the close confines of the hideout. It was a chunk of the modern world that did not belong there, where he could only speak of ancient impulses, biblical rage, medieval torment, the natural original state of man, savagery. She would get up. She would leave. She would be on her cell phone to G. William before she even got into the car, and every fiber of Jas cried out to delve into his bag of sociopath tricks, to cozen and coddle her, persuade her not to go, because once she left and told G. William what he'd said, it was all over. G. William would accept no more help with the Impressionist, and the Impressionist would just keep on killing. And Jas would end up in an institution somewhere, looking for the last scraps of his soul in a padded cell. But some part of him yearned for her to go, to flee him. And that was when Jas realized that he was in love with Connie, because for the first time in his life, there was someone more important than himself. She stood. She stared at him. "So do it," she said with a quiet, confident intensity that almost frightened him. I'm so sick of this," she went on, urgency and heat gathering like friction in her voice. "So sick of this constant pity party you throw for yourself. I love you, you moron. I try to be understanding and supportive, but you keep acting like I don't get you, and you keep trying to scare me or push me away. Con, shut up! It's my turn. If you want me to stop talking, then you'll have to kill me, which you claim you could do. And I'll say it again. Do it. Stop threatening it and stop whining about it and just do it. But if you don't, then shut the hell up about it and let me be there for you and let me help you. Because if you don't, then your crazy father really has one. And my crazy father gets his wish and I stop dating the white guy. But either way, figure out your crap and stop dumping it on me." Jazz stared at her. Did she have any idea what she was saying? What she was provoking? She raised a hand to stop him. "Think carefully here, Jazz. What are you going to say? Because if it's more of this 'I'm too dangerous for you' BS, I might just kill myself to get away from it. And then where would you be?" He threw his hands in the air, wanting desperately to hit something, to hit someone, wanting and needing to bring pain, to feel pain. But only Connie stood before him, and while a part of him, a big part he could tell, knew exactly what to do to her, exactly how to do it, some other part, small but strong, wrestled with him and with the voice of his father that lived inside him. With a cry of anger and frustration, he pushed past her and barged outside, running to the edge of the clearing, where he dropped to his knees in a pile of leaves and scattered grasses, his mind whirling with images of Connie blended with the impressionist victims. Connie in the field, Connie in the Heller shower, Connie on Ginny's once white carpet, her blood and her life running out, as Jazz put his lips to hers, only this time he sucked out her last breaths, inhaled her very soul. Is this what I am? Is this what I have to be, or is it like Connie says? Is it all just drama? And how do I tell? How do I figure it out? He knelt there on the cold ground, the images battering at his mind, until he heard the door to the hideout open, heard the crunch of her tread on dried leaves. He waited for her to come up behind him, to touch his shoulder, for the slightly sweet scent of chemical detangler that followed her, and waited, until he heard Howie's car start. Yes. He hung his head, exactly what he deserved. He stayed in that position for a long time. He thought that maybe he could stay there forever, if not for the image of Irene Heller suddenly before him, of her eyelids closed by the impressionist, as though he was worried about getting shampoo in her eyes. But he knew what was under those eyelids. He knew the blank stare of the dead. He'd seen it in his father's victims, in Fiona Goodling, in Ginny Davis. It was something he could never forget. No one would hold Irene Heller tonight. No one would hold Irene. And somewhere someone was missing the holding. Connie was right. This wasn't about him and his problems, his past. It was about Irene and Fiona and Carlette and poor, poor Jenny. He had to do everything in his power to avenge them, and there was one more thing he could do. He stood and stared up at the night sky, took in a deep breath, and then blew it out in a long, lazy cloud. And then he said it out loud to the night, to himself, to make it real. I have to see my father.